In Oklahoma, we have a lot of areas I think that are probably similar to yours in your state, particularly in the rural and tribal lands. Where do you think the role, or how do you think brownfields projects play a role in the rural and tribal land areas?
I think it's critical. As I've said in my testimony, these small rural communities, um, they are overwhelmed with and have a limited capacity for what they can handle. Commissioner Largent also mentioned that just the lack of bandwidth, and no new programs coming in, and this, where brownfields can help is especially with state funds, we can come in and assist these communities. We go to city council meetings. We meet with local developers. We meet with the coffee shop owner, the person interested in making a brewery. We meet with them. We go over the risks. We go over um, the hurdles that they would need to go, but also kind of reassure them and that this is a process that we've gone through, that we have a track record, and showing them examples of where brownfields has succeeded enables them to commit to these projects, and it can then it just revitalizes communities. It increases self-belief in those communities. It starts attracting the younger generation back into those communities, and it just leads to revitalization and additional economic development.
Do you feel there's adequate outreach to tribal communities in these areas?
So the tribes are allowed to apply for 128 funds as well. It is, and that is, it is a tricky effort because we have state funding, we have tribal funding, and but the EPA is trying to do the best at covering all the areas with 128 funds sufficiently um, to provide sufficient funding for brownfields efforts.
So I spinning off of that, would you say that the technical assistance for brownfield grants, or grants particular to that's relevant to those areas, are they helpful? Or is there enough there? Are they too complicated for these tribes to get to? What's your thoughts on that?
So the technical assistance program is a fantastic program for those areas that lack the capacity and the bandwidth, especially and also tribes. The technical assistance program comes in as experts and puts on trainings. They meet with communities similar to what states provide. They meet with tribal elders. They meet with commissioners, local commissioners, and talk about brownfields and help them provide that hand holding assistance that is needed sometimes to develop that program and to make it sustainable in the future. So I think it's critical funding for these areas that are underserved.
So just because, like I said, our states are similar in the brownfield cleanup spots, tribal areas, and rural areas. So maybe you can help me here. What are some of the innovative ways that your state's benefited from these cleanups in brownfield areas?
So one of the things that we've done that's kind of changed the landscape on petroleum sites. Petroleum sites, you think of local gas stations that are boarded up and underutilized right there on the corner of Main Street. They are always high traffic areas. But in tribal areas specifically, what we do is we reach out to our counterparts, our tribal counterparts, to help identify these gas station properties. And then we leverage our state petroleum funds or the leaking underground storage tank funds. And so we use brownfields to do an assessment, which covers the deductible of our state funds, which then can be used to clean it up. And then those properties within tribes or out of the tribes are able to be redeveloped. These properties are oftentimes underwater, like we previously mentioned. A property could be valued at 15,000 market rate, but there's $150,000 of cleanup necessary. There's no way a developer is going to come in those areas, and that's only leveraging the brownfields program as well as state funding that we can get these sites back into beneficial use.
Thank you, sir. That Chairman, I'll yield back.